Most people like cake for their birthday. I'm a pie guy. When I was losing weight, I was obsessed with just trying to make things as healthy as possible. And this is a concept my son brought to me for making an oil-free pie. All we're gonna use is 2 base ingredients and then some flavorings. And those ingredients are a banana and some flour. The banana is gonna take the place of your fat, and the trick is to get one that's a little green still, and then put it in the fridge and let it get nice and cold. Just the way you would want butter to be a little bit cold when you're making pie crust. So we're just gonna break this up and put it inside of our food processor. And we're gonna mix that with 1 1/4 cups of whole wheat flour. I haven't tried this with the gluten-free 1-to-1, but it would probably work. And you could leave it at that if you wanted to, but I'm gonna add a few things just to up the flavor a little bit. Just a dash of salt, tablespoon of coconut sugar, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. Then we're just gonna blitz that until it's nicely combined. It's looking good. So depending on how large your banana is, you might not get the moisture you're looking for. If that's the case, just add some ice water, 1/2 tablespoon at a time. I used about 1.5 tablespoons, and I think it's gonna give me the right texture. So let's put a little bit of brown rice flour onto this sheet. What's great about brown rice flour is it doesn't absorb into the dough the way other flours do. So it won't stick in and just take away the moisture we have. This is gonna start forming into a ball already on its own. And we can just take this out and put it onto the mat. As you can see, this is already starting to bind together. It's much different than any dough you probably made, but it will work. And it's very forgiving. You can continue to shape it and just press pieces around. So don't worry if it breaks apart because you can just keep on pushing it down. So we're gonna roll this out to about 9 inches. It can be pretty thin. Oh, this is where you get your arm workout. Come on. And it's looking a bit funky, but it's okay because we're gonna continue to shape it as we go. So this is rolling out into about the right shape, and if you find little parts that need to be patched, like right here, just grab a little bit of dough from the end, pop it on top, and just roll it into it. This is all gonna be covered with filling, so you're not gonna see most of it anyway. So as you can see, this dough holds together pretty well. So it's not gonna be that hard to flip it into a pie plate. So I've already really lightly greased this pie pan. I just used a little bit of olive oil, but you could use coconut oil as well. So my trick is just to put it on top like that. Get your hand underneath, flip it, and hope for the best. All right, that's great. So now what you do is just very gently just start pushing it in so that it molds and forms to the edges of your pie sheet. So now I'm gonna take a knife and I'm just gonna go around the edge and just cut off the excess. So this pie crust is pretty much ready to go now. All I'm gonna do is take a fork and just stab a couple holes in the bottom, and that will keep it from ballooning up when it cooks. And then if you wanna make it a little prettier, you can just go around the edge and just place the fork on the edge and just press down lightly, and that's gonna create nice grooves all the way around. You can use any fruit you want, fresh or frozen. I'm using 6 cups of mixed berries. We're gonna put our pot full of fruit onto the stove and turn it on to medium-high heat. We're gonna add in 1/3 cup of maple syrup, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, a teaspoon of vanilla, 1/4 teaspoon of tapioca starch. Cornstarch will also work. And we're just gonna keep stirring this around until it cooks down. You're gonna think it's way too liquidy, but when it starts to thicken up, it'll happen fast. So this is the perfect consistency I want for this pie filling. I'm just gonna turn the heat off and let this sit while I get the rest of this ready. So you could just put the pie filling in here and it'll be delicious and lovely, but I'm gonna add a streusel, which is essentially like a little crumble you put on top instead of doing like another layer of dough. So all I'm using here is 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour. You could use oat flour for this if you wanted to. I've got 1/4 cup of coconut sugar, and then I've got 1/4 cup of peanut butter. You could also use almond butter here as well. Let's mix that around. And all we're looking for here is it to kind of form like a really loose little crumbles is what we want, because we're going to sprinkle this all over the top. So we don't want it to form like a giant batter. Just get in there with your hands. Food wants to be touched. It wants to be loved. That's creating some nice crumbly goodness there. Might not even need all of this, but it's okay. It's better to have a little bit more and not need it than to need it and not have it. Need it? Get it? It's a bakery joke, huh? This crumble is great. Now we're gonna pour into that pie filling. As you can see, I probably could have put a little more filling in here. It's not going all the way up to level of pie, but this might expand a little bit in the oven, and it's also gonna continue to thicken as it bakes. Now we're gonna take that crumble and we're just gonna let it dance all over top of that filling. And oh yeah, I made way too much, but that's okay. This is ready to go inside the oven. We're gonna bake this for only about 15 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Otherwise, this crust will start to crack and break in weird ways. The taste is still amazing. It didn't set quite the way I wanted to, but flavor-wise, this is fantastic. You can use whatever fruits you want in a pie like this. Just make sure that you let it set. And this crust works either way. Make yourself some pie. So good. You guys don't want some of this, right? I'm just gonna eat the whole thing.